Hi everyone, my name is Gretchen Thompson and I will be presenting on Jesus Rosales-Ruiz. And here we go. So the first slide, I will be introducing Dr. Rosales-Ruiz and going over some of his past academic experience. So Dr. Ruiz is currently an associate professor at the University of North Texas. He obtained his PhD in 1995 in developmental and child psychology / behavior analysis at the University of Kansas. And he also obtained a master's degree at the University of Kansas. But he obtained that in human development and family life. And Dr. Rosales-Ruiz has extensive experience in the academic field. So he is currently the active director at the B. Barnett Neuro-Operant Relations Lab, and he's been there since spring of 2004. And he is also an associate professor at the Department of Behavioral Analysis since spring of 2001. He's also a private consultant for autism services, and he's been doing this since the summer of 2001. A lot of his other experiences include that are not present. He has been a teaching assistant, an assistant professor. He has been a project coordinator of specific research projects in ABA. He's been a thesis advisor, an in-home teacher, and then again, research and teaching assistants. He is also presently, which I found to be really neat, an editor for several journals, and one of which includes the European Journal of Behavior Analysis. So in this next slide, I'm going to go over his overall contribution to the field of ABA. So Dr. Rosales-Ruiz, he studies both animals and humans, so he crosses species lines and isn't just working with humans. He uses operant conditioning and other principles of ABA to perform research on, like I said, both animals and humans. So the main articles that I found consisted of a baboon, a dog, and horses. So the baboon article actually had to do with a baboon engaging in self-injurious behavior. And so this self-injury was found to be completely attention maintained. So an extinction protocol was used to make sure that the behavior was on a decreasing trend and decreased to 0. And then with the dog, which I found to be particularly interesting, that's actually a picture of my dog. He performed preference assessments with the dog. He would tell the dog to go kind of pick a toy, and the dog would get the toy and bring it back. And, everything was recorded, and the experiment kind of tried to figure out trends within the dog's preferences of toys. And finally, horses, and up here in the corner is actually a picture of my horse. So this was really applicable to what I have seen, and it was about loading horses on trailers, and they used positive reinforcement in order to basically have a horse walk onto a trailer. And if you guys have seen this, that horses are very big, and trailers don't often look really big, especially if you're walking on with a 1,500-pound animal. So a lot of the time you will run into those maladaptive behaviors, rearing, backing up, just kind of overall refusal to get in the trailer. And all of these behaviors were recorded, and the desensitization protocol was put in place to make sure these horses would actually load themselves onto a trailer. They made sure that they had common people that they worked with, and then they would generalize it to others. And I thought that this study was really interesting because I've seen that done so many times. So Dr. Rosales-Ruiz also provided extensive research on behavioral cusps. And so behavioral cusps, in the way that Dr. Rosales-Ruiz described them, it was very developmental, and it was almost a developmental psychology aspect of it. He kind of explained that all organisms have behavioral cusps, but some of them are insignificant moments or significant moments. Some of them are non-teachable and some of them are teachable. So an example of a behavioral cusp that he gave in his article that he wrote with Dr. Bear was that, like, a child crawling. So a child is kind of scoots across the ground, and then all of a sudden one day he's able to crawl, and then walking would be another good example of a behavior cusp, or saying your first word, etc., etc. So here are some interview questions that I would really like to ask Dr. Rosales-Ruiz. And I'm going to give you guys a short explanation of why I would ask these questions. So I would like to know what his favorite research would be that he conducted. Would it be the research with animals? Would it be the research with humans? Why he chose to research in this field. I would ask him what he thinks his largest contribution to the field of applied behavior analysis is. I would be very interested to kind of figure out what exactly he thought he has contributed to ABA. What myth would you wish to debunk when it comes to human behavior? And that mostly has to do with a lot of people have a lot of biases about ABA and a lot of common misconceptions. So I would like to know what he would kind of like to debunk about it. What would you recommend to young researchers in the field? Obviously, we're all young researchers or new researchers to the field of ABA. And I would like to get a seasoned look from a researcher like Dr. Rosales-Ruiz. And finally, are there any personal barriers you have faced while conducting research? I found that question would be really interesting to have him answer, just because of his background with both animals and humans, and what barriers he's faced and what challenges with his organisms that he's been studying. All right, so why is his research important? So his research kind of shows that ABA crosses all kinds of lines. It crosses both animals and humans, and it's a good reminder that ABA is really versatile. You can kind of apply it to anything, anyone, at any time. It doesn't have to be just children who are diagnosed with ASD. You're able to go kind of above and beyond the autism diagnosis into something completely different, like animals and how their behavior, how the environment affects their behavior. So here are a list of my references that I used during this presentation. Thank you.